Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all of my fellow Christian educators. My name is Olympia Jarbo, and I will be speaking to you today about the printing press, biblical literacy, and the democratization of knowledge. So, as we are moving into the year 2025, we will be celebrating the 570th year anniversary of the Gutenberg Bible. The Gutenberg Bible was printed in 1455 by Gutenberg Press in Mainz, Germany. And it was printed in the local German vernacular. And this was significant because now the Bible was available in a language other than Latin in Europe at the time. It's printed in the local language, meaning that common men and women could read it, not just the upper class and not just the clergy. So it was significant that this Bible was printed, and it is significant that we are now coming upon the 570th year anniversary. But let me give you a little background. Let's go back further than the year 1455. In 1450, Johannes Gutenberg had been working on a model for a movable type machine, and he came up with what we come to know as the printing press. And the printing press was significant because it made written materials widely available, easily accessible, and more affordable. So now materials that were once only read by the upper class males who could read and write were now available for other people to read and write in their local languages. And so now we have the ideas of Aristotle and Plato and Augustine and Thomas Aquinas are now available to common men and women. And then 5 years later, we had the printing of the Gutenberg Bible. So we see how now knowledge is now being made available for the masses and not just for a select few. We now have, this is now coinciding with the continued growth of universities in Europe. So now more information and ideas and philosophies are now being shared, between people. There's more exposure to classical literature. And then also at this time, we start to see a shift of responsibility of schooling shifting from the churches to local governments as people are now reading the Bible and the scriptures for themselves. Then we have in the year 1517, we have the publication of Martin Luther's 95 Theses. And significant with his writings was the doctrine of the priesthood of all believers. The educational impact of the printing press and the printing of the Bible, we then have the Protestant Reformation, where people who were able to read the scripture said, yeah, we don't really agree with this Roman Catholic interpretation. So now we have different denominations forming as they are reading scripture and interpreting it for themselves and seeing how to apply it to their lives. Eventually, we have the counter-Catholic Reformation, where the Catholic Church answers the Protestant Reformation and tries to revive, their doctrine and maybe look at some of their practices. We now see the increase in female education, where before it was really just upper class males. Now we see females are now being encouraged to read for themselves, to interpret scripture and other things for themselves. We see the increase in grammar schools, where people are learning to read and write and also getting to learn some of the sciences and math and the classical literature as well. Then eventually, this all, as European settlers start going over to the American colonies, eventually we get the start of the public school system with the old Duluth-Satan Act of 1647 in Massachusetts Bay Colony, so that their children would be able to read the scriptures for themselves, be able to apply it to their own lives so that they would not be deceived by Satan and his tricks. And this is now the start of mass education in the United States. So I just wanted to give you all that background. Continue to be encouraged. I know the modern climate is more secular, but as a Christian educator, knowing the roots of public education, I believe is empowering, and it helps to center us in our work.